Thank you. I now give the floor to Mr. Brons for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam President. The European Union signing up to the Council of Europe's Convention on Human Rights will be followed by legislation that will make the Convention part of European Union law, as well as being another organisation's document as an external benchmark. That means that the EU's court in Luxembourg will have the jurisdiction to interpret and enforce two potentially competing documents, the EU's Charter and the Council's Convention. I've asked several experts in AFCO and LIBE what would happen if there should be a conflict between the two documents, or between different sections of the same document. Which document or which section would take precedence? I was told that, first of all, that the document or section that granted the greater amount of freedom would take precedence over the one that granted the lesser amount of freedom. I later asked what would be decided if there should be two parties to a dispute and each claim different but competing and possibly contradictory rights. For example, the right to practice one's religion without being offended and the right of freedom of expression involving criticism of the tenets or followers of a religion. This isn't entirely theoretical, as the case of the Danish cartoons illustrates. This was the case of the dog that didn't bark, or rather the expert who did not venture an opinion. The silence was as deafening as it was clear for all to hear and to understand. Free speech will always be sacrificed because that's the EU's default position. Denying free speech is what the EU does best. We're talking about two different categories of right: the political right of freedom of expression against prosecution by the state, and the right not to be offended by criticism. The right not to be offended is considered to be much more important than the right to debate a matter of public interest. Should there be no restrictions on freedom of speech? Well, there should be restrictions on those who incite violence, but criticism that falls short of that should be free from interference from the criminal law. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Mrs. Yanaku for 2 minutes.